Now let us go to the configuring a router. So router, we say that it's a layer 3 device. Layer 3 device means it works on the IP address. What about the switch? A switch works on, it's a layer 2 device, so it works only on the MAC address. So what is the purpose of a router? The purpose of a router, it will enable us to connect to different networks. So let us add our router. So in order to add a router, you'll click on this network devices, then you'll click on the router here, router. So you can see we have switch, we have different devices, but we'll select routers. In the routers, we're going to select 2901, then we'll bring it here. Now what we are going to do is we're going to double click on this one. So you can see that it have two interfaces for Ethernet 00 and Ethernet 01. It doesn't have a serial port, so when you double click on it, so when you zoom in, these are the two Ethernet interfaces, this one GE00 and GE01, and also we can have 4 serial interfaces, so we can turn it off and add additional network interface card so that we can connect with another routers. So here you can see we have 4 networks. So because we didn't turn it on, so we will turn on and we'll go to the command line interface. So when you restart a router, you'll see that there are different types of issues. So you can see that this is the Cisco 29009 version, and also you can have different issues with regard. So after this one, we'll say no. Now you can see the name of the router is router, so we'll convert this name. So you can see that there are this is the router interface. It's called the guest mode. As I have already said, there are three types of modes. They are called what and what? They are the guest mode. So the guest, it doesn't have a privilege. The second one is a privilege mode. The third one is global configuration mode. Global configuration mode. So we have 3 modes. So we have the guest mode, which is indicated by this sign. We have the privilege mode, usually it is indicated by this sign. The configuration, the global configuration mode is usually represented on this conf part. So you'll have this kind of structure. So we'll say we are in the global configuration mode. So you need to make sure that you do differentiate between these 3. How do we get from the guest mode to privilege mode? We'll say enable. So we'll say to go from here to here, we'll write enable. All in short, in. To go from privilege to global configuration mode, we'll say configure terminal. Configure terminal. In short what? Conf t. Conf space t. So these are what we are going to use whenever we want to go from guest mode to privilege. So if somebody is at the privilege mode, they can do everything to your router. They can erase your configurations. They can do whatever they want. So we need to know this one. So now at which stage are we now currently? We're currently at the what mode? We are currently at the guest mode. How do we go from guest mode to the privilege mode? We will say enable. How do we go from the privilege mode to the global configuration mode? We will say configure terminal. How do we go from this mode into the interface mode? We will say interface. For example, GIG 0/0. That is gigabit 00. So you have seen here. So this is called the GIG 00. So we can move around like this one. So how do we go back? We go back by saying exit. It will take us to the configuration mode. If I say exit, it will take me to the privilege mode. If I say exit, it will take me to the guest mode. So now I'm a guest. So I cannot fully, because this router is a new router, it doesn't have a password for those different privileges. So we can provide a different password in the future for different privileges. So now let us go. So from now on we are going to use the an abbreviated form. For example, for enable we'll say in. For configure terminal we'll say conft. So we'll use, now let us change the name of the router. Let us call it host name ICT. So now we have given it an ICT. Now we need to prevent this port, which is called the console, the line console 0 port. So we need to configure this part. You'll need to make sure that this port is prevented. So let us say somebody came to location where the router exists. He have the console cable with him. So you do know that in order for a PC to connect, only you need to have a PC, and you need to have the router, and you need to have the console cable. So the console cable is going to be connected here. After connecting to the console cable, just you need to have some software. Let us say you have a software that's called PuTTY. So just you'll see the things that we have seen here. So this area need to be prevented. This area is called what? Line console 0. So we'll configure this one. What did we call this one previously? This is called interface GIG 0/0. Now we need to prevent this one, because this is the area that we want to prevent. By entering into this port, you can configure this one. By entering through this port, you can configure this one. So you need to protect this port initially. So this is where we're going to configure and remove that. So now let us go to the configuration part. So this is a configuration part. In this part, we'll say what? Line console 0. Which area are we preventing? This area, this port, or this is the line console 0. We're preventing it from being accessed. Then we'll provide it what? A password. Let us call it ICT at 1234. Now, after then we'll say login. When the user logs in on the next login, this password will be enforced. Let us see. Let us go exit, and then you'll see. Now let us go again exit. Now you can see that I'm being requested a password. What was the password? The password was ICT at 123. You may not see while I was writing. Cisco does not give us this privilege. So you can see that now I am in what mode? In the guest mode. Now when I say enable, it takes me directly to the privilege mode. This should also be prevented. How do we prevent this one? We need to prevent this one by doing what? By providing a password for the enable part. How do we do that? We'll say configure terminal or conft. Then here we'll say what? Enable. So for the enable, we're going to provide it secret. We can say password, but password is not usually safe. So rather than saying password, we want to encrypt the password. So we'll say enable secret. So then we'll provide it a password. Let us call it enable at 1234. Now so maybe you say the login will work only for the global configuration mode, but only for this one. Now we'll say exit. We'll say exit. Now what was our guest mode password? The guest mode password was ICT at 1234. This is the guest mode. But when I say enable, when I want to become an administrator privilege, or a kind of administrator privilege, it will ask me the password. So I gave it the password what? In at 1234. Now I can do everything I want with the router. I can erase. I can erase the startup config. So this is very bad. So if you erase the startup config, you are erasing everything that was on the router. So if you give somebody a privilege mode password, they can do everything they want. So but currently we have been working on the router, but we didn't save it. How do we save it? If, for example, if I come accidentally turn this off and on, everything, the password, the name of the router will be lost. So in order not to lose everything, we'll say what? Copy run. Run means something, or the running configuration. If you click a tab on the on your keyboard, the router will finish the remaining words. For example, I can also say start, and so it will finish with me. So now it is confirming that whether I'm sure or not. I'll say yes. Now if I click on this one, turn it off and turn it on, the command will not be lost because I have saved it. So if you don't save it, if you accidentally remove it on something like that, you're going to lose it. Now if I enter, so now it's asking me what kind of password? The guest password. So now I'm being asked what kind of password? Guest password. What was the guest password? The guest password was what? ICT at 1234. So ICT at 1234. Now I am at the guest mode. After guest mode, now I can become an administrator by saying enable. It will ask me also a password. So I'll say in 1234. Now I am in the privilege mode. So now I am at the privilege mode. From this on, I can work as I want on the router. For example, let us configure. You can see that we have 2 ports here and 2 ports here. Let us configure one of them. For example, let us configure this one. Let's configure this port. So I can go to the configure terminal. Interfaces are configured. So we cannot directly access into interface. We need to go from the guest. We need to go from the guest to the privilege. From privilege, we need to go to the global configuration. From global configuration, then we can go to the different interfaces. So we cannot directly access from guest to the interface mode. You need to go this step. That's why we said enable. Then, so first we entered into a guest mode. From guest mode, I wrote enable. Then I become a privilege mode. From the privilege mode, I say conf-t. I become what? Into a global configuration mode. Now I can go to the interface mode. For example, I can say what? I can say interface giga. If I say giga, it will finish it. So gigawatt 0/0. So that is the first, this interface, that means this one. Then what do we do? Then we will provide it an IP. For example, IP address. I can provide an IP address for this interface. So we say that these are the gateways to the LAN. So this is one gateway, this is another gateway, this is another different gateways. Usually these two are the gateways. Now I can say IP address. So first you need to provide an IP for your network. For example, in our case, let us say 192.168.1.1. This is the interface for GIG00. I'm going, so let us say 255.255.255.0. Then I need to say no shut. No shut means what? Wake up. Don't be off. So now the state will become up. So this is just a simple, what? A simple configuration for configuring one interface. Let's add one configuration interface for this one. You can see that there are two serial interfaces. So let us go to the command line interface and configure. So now we are in what mode? In the if mode. If means what? In the interface mode. Which interface? The gigabit 000 interface. You need to get out from here. So we'll exit from this one, then we'll enter another interface. What interface? Serial 0/0/0 interface. This means this one. The first, the one of these two. So this is serial, this is Ethernet. So we can also give an IP address to this interface. Can I say 192.168? Can I say 1.2.255.255? Do you think the router will accept this kind of IP address? You see that this IP here and this IP here, they are almost the same except the change with the last number. But these two IP addresses, they are in the same network. So it's not possible for the router to give an IP which are in the same network. Let us check it. What does it say? It's saying that this IP overlaps with the gigabit. So this giga and this serial, they are having the same. So it's not possible on the router to have this kind of IP addresses. So you need to make sure that this should be not the case. So let's do what? So now what do we do? Let us change it. So routers have, one of the advantages of a router is if you press the up and down key or arrow keys on your keyboard, for example, it will give you the previous command that you have written. So for example, I should not write the same command for the previous one, just I will make it a small modification. Now you can see this is 192.168.2.1 and this one is 192.168.1.1. So these two are different. They are different with this, the third part. This part, the third part. So now we'll enter. But in the case of serial, we'll provide it a clock rate. Just for the sake of a clock rate is a kind of a synchronizing principle between two different routers. So we usually will make it 128. So there are so many options to give it. So now we have provided this number. Now we have finished everything. Configuring a router is as simple as this one. What did we do? We provided a password for the guest mode. Now, just like the previous one, we'll exit at the configuration mode. We'll say copy, run, start. These are the short forms of what? The running configurations. Previously we said what? So this is just like running configuration. This one is similar with this one. So if you say run, start is similar with the running and start. So this is similar. Just we are taking this keyword from running, run, from the startup, start, then we'll save it. So this means save. So now we have saved it. So this is in short configuring a router. Now in the coming videos we'll see how do we configure the router. So in this case you'll see that now we'll have some commands. One of the command is called what? Show IP interface brief. So you can see that the interfaces that we have working on. So we have the gigabit 00. This is one of so we say that there is the protocol and the status are different. So the status is up, but the protocol is not working. This is mainly due to one of the router is not working on the other side. If the router is working on the other side, this will work. So we have provided an IP address for the gigabit 00. We have provided an IP address for the serial 00. We can configure for this for the Ethernet 00 and serial 001 in the coming videos. Just where I'm giving you an understanding, a basic understanding on the configuration of a router. So in addition to that, routers will have routing table. So there are two types of networks. They are called directly connected routes and remote routes. So for example, for router 1, for router 1, for router 1, uh, for example, for router 1, for this one router, you can see that these three networks, these three cables, this cable, this cable, and this cable, they are called directly connected cables. But the other cables, they are not connected ones. So we call these three cables directly connected networks for the router 1. These three, they are called, these two, the last two, this one, they are called what? They are called remote networks. So these are directly connected. You can see it here by itself. The name itself says directly connected. This is also directly connected. In general, cables that are connected to the router, they are network, and those networks, they are called directly connected networks, and those networks are called remote networks. So routers exchange information. This router will tell the information it knows to this router. For example, he knows information about these three routers to this one, and this router 2 knows this information to this route. This exchange of information is called what? Routing. We can say that they're exchanging information with regard to that one. So you can see that we might write on the our router here, we can say what? Show IP route. So this will show you. So whenever you have this kind of D, so we said, what is the purpose of C? C means directly connected. What about S? S means static route. R means RIP. So we'll come step by step to this. What are each of them? Because we didn't finish the routing information. This is what we call routing. Now let us finish what we have started. So let us come to the now let us add another one. So we have said that let us add a switch here. Let us add a PC here. Let us use a cables. You can say switch have this kind of 24 ports, and also we can connect with this gigabit interface with this one. So we have connected, because you can see that we have connected. Now we can provide this PC an IP address. So I'll go to the desktop. I think you do remember that the IP address that I gave it here, the IP address that I gave it with was now 192.168.1.1. So this can be 1.2.1.3 because they are in the same network. So I can say 192.168.1.2 because this was 0.11 previously while we are configuring it was 1.1. And we'll say, but the default gateway, so the only means of exit for this PC is to outside world is through this interface. So what was the interface of this one? It was 192.168.1.1, which we have written previously. So now we can write that default gateway here. It was 192.168.1.1. So you can see that the IP address of this and the IP address of the PC here, they are very similar. So the IP address of this PC was what we have given it, 192.168.1.2. So do you think that these two PCs, these two IPs, are they in the same network? Or are they in different? They are in the same network, because you can see that they are similar based on their father name. They might be different on their this number. They are allowed to have their own numbers, but they should not change if they are in the same network. Now let us add another router so that we can finish up. No, not another router. Let us add another PC, which should be which can be here. So let us add another cable here and another cable. From this cable we can add it. Let's add another switch. That it's not important, but just let me so that it looks like some kind of thing. So here we have fast Ethernet. Let us use the gigabit here, gigabit 01 with this one. But you can see it became red. Why it became red? Because we didn't provide an IP address for this interface. We didn't turn it on. We didn't say no shutdown. So we need to say no shutdown. So you can see that. You can see that the name here is, it is what? It is it has connected to the gigabit 00. So we'll come to this router and we'll go to the command line. We'll go to the in configure terminal, because we don't say enable because we are already in the privilege mode. Now we'll say config t. Now we are in the, you can see it here. Now what did we say? Now we say interface. What is the name of the interface? The name of the interface of this interface is what? You can see that this is our router 4. In general, this is our router ICT. So we are still working on this router. So interface what? Gigabit. When I say 0/1, so then I will provide it an IP address. What would we say? This network is what? 192. So what was the network of this network? It was what? 192.168.1. Wait. So we can make this one 192.168. 168.2.3. So these two, so these three numbers and these three numbers, they are different. They might look like very, very similar, but they are different. In what? Only on the last number. That's possible to have this kind of issues. So we are going to provide this kind of IP for this interface. So what is the IP address of this one? We'll make it 192.168.2.1. So subnet mask to 55.55.55.0. They will say what? No shut. So you have a look at this red triangular structure when I say no shut. So when I click on this one, you can see that it will change to the green. So it has been previously off, now it is on. So you do remember that we gave an IP address of 192.168.2.1 to this interface, and to this PC we can say desktop. We can reconfigure. Here we have 192.168.2.3 for this PC. So we are working on this PC. And so what is our default gateway? Our default gateway is the gateway for this PC is this one. The gateway for this PC is this one. So this is the gateway. So our gateway is 192.168.2.1 will be our So how do we know that this router is connecting these two different networks? So we say that this is one network, this is another network. So who can connect two different networks? The router. So that is the task of a router responsibility. So in this case, how we can check their connectivity by coming to this PC, and we'll go to the desktop mode. We'll close this one. So we'll come to the command prompt. We'll say ping. So this PC is going to ping that one. So the IP address of that one is 192.168.2.1. So you can see there is a return. So there is time to live. So there is the return. So the connection is working. So this is a basic configuration of a router.